While attribute selectors are not brand new to CSS, in fact, they've been around since CSS 2.1, the release of CSS3 marks the addition of several new, powerful attribute selector types that will make targeting elements based on attribute and attribute values even easier. Before we jump in and start using those, let's take a moment to explore their syntax, how they work, and the new attribute selectors available to us in the Level 3 Selectors module. CSS 2.1 included 4 possible attribute selector syntaxes, which allow you to target elements based on the presence of an attribute or a specific attribute value. If you're new to writing attribute selectors, their syntax can seem a little bit complicated at first. So let's explore the syntax in more detail and examine which elements they would target. The first variation is pretty basic. It simply checks for the presence of the listed attribute. If the attribute is found, the element is targeted. In this example, we would check for any link tag with an href element. If you want to be more specific, you can write attribute selectors that target an explicit attribute value. Here you can see 2 variations on that. One uses quotation marks to surround the value, while the second one does not. The quotation marks are not required unless the attribute value has multiple words or punctuation. In those cases, the quotation marks force the values to be read as a literal string. By adding a tilde in front of the equals sign, you can change the attribute value to match any space-separated values where at least one of the values matches the inputted string. This is a little easier to visualize, so you can see here where the attribute selector is matching any image that contains thumbnail in its alt tag value. You can even get specific about hyphenated attribute values. By adding the pipe character before the equals sign, you are targeting any element that either has the specific value or a hyphen-separated list that begins with that value. Now, I doubt you're going to use this one very much, as it's primarily designed to search for language subcode matches, but hey, you never know. So those are the attribute selectors that we could use in CSS 2.1. CSS 3 extends attribute selectors by giving us more ways to match substrings within the attribute values. First, by adding the correct character before the equals sign,